The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Monday, another week in the rib. We got a good week starting already. Now, the good news is the mayor apparently is back from his spring and summer sabbaticals. And there's things going on now. He's already started his campaign run because he's already talking about how, you know, it's all the city council's fault and he couldn't repeat he wanted to get rid of the purple bags. So why can't he? He can just tell the people don't use them.
All he's got to do is, by executive order, end the contract.
That's right. I mean, you know, didn't we say that on the show that this was all a big scam by him?
Yep.
Because he totally supported purple bags from the get-go, and then now all of a sudden, he ran. He was going to get rid of them the last election, and he hasn't gotten rid of them. And he keeps saying he's going to do it, but now he's got his pal. And the only thing that Steve Long ever opposed him on was not getting rid of the bags, because that's exactly what he wanted. He wanted the city council to blame. To blame because he didn't have the administrative coverage to do it. If you really want to do it, you can do it. And let's make that perfectly clear to everybody that's watching. If he really wanted to get rid of the purple bags, he could.
Yeah, no question about it.
So just remember when he starts blaming
and Brad Kilby asked for a legal opinion from the judge.
Yep.
Here come the judge. Here come the judge. And he said that the mayor can't end the contract.
Yeah, well, that's about the only thing he ever said that was accurate. And, you know, we got to stop calling him the judge, because he's not the judge anymore. All he is just another hired attorney hack that always basically sides with the mayor. And like he said that because he couldn't lie about it. I mean, as bad as he is in fashioning opinions, that's something that he knew that he would get called on, because he can't end it. So let's make that perfectly clear. And I guess there's a battle now going on between the council and, because he didn't get his tourism director, and of course they didn't provide the information that the city council wanted. So, you know, it's byplay. And by the way, just for the record, they're not supposed to get along. They're supposed to vote their conscience and represent the people. As a matter of fact, when it's disagreement, sometimes the resolution to that disagreement is a better fix. You can't have, and we keep saying it, and I keep saying that, you can't have a city council that walks in lockstep with the mayor. There's a checks and balances in government, or there's supposed to be. And when you got a bunch of Steve Longs and Joe Camaras, they're nodding their head all the time for the mayor, and they say this is the way it's supposed to be. No, it isn't. The last time everybody walked in lockstep, they were goose-stepping for Adolf. That's not the way you run a government. Healthy debate, differences of opinion are good. They're good for the process, because sometimes both sides don't have the perfect answer. And if they disagree and start fighting about it, they might actually come up with a synthesis that's better. But that's the way it's supposed to work. But nothing ever works right in this city. We know that. Coming to BCC, and a guy stopped at a light with a green arrow, and he just sat there, people jumping out of the car, waving their arms, blowing the horn. The traffic's backed up to the rotary at President Avenue and Eastern Avenue, because some nitwit doesn't know what a green arrow means. And of course, the traffic's heavy anyway, because we know it's the beginning of school for Durfee, for Conley, for BCC, beginning of the semester. Again, every time I get stuck in traffic like that, like today, it was backed up to the rotary, and I'm sitting there, I'm saying, wow, and I think about the charter school. And I think about the ridiculous statement that it was okay to clog up, to allow them to use emergency accesses. When I look at this traffic today and think about somebody trying to get up Ellsbury Street in an emergency during this fiasco. So, or trying to get here. You know, it would delay it minimum and maybe almost prohibit it for a rapid response, which is critical in an emergency. So, not that we've segued into that, but we know. So, keep your eyes open. The politics is going to start. We're going to start rearing its head again. We'll have a lot more to talk about, I think, on this battle, because I think there's a comment by the city council president. So we'll start watching the repartee between the two.
It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
But, you know, that money, they kept that money, they put it in a reserve fund so they could use it for things. But when they get the opportunity to use it for things, they don't. Like $122,000 for 3 vehicles. No, they're going to bond a 30-year bond for a vehicle that's got a 7-year lifespan.
Yep.
We're going to be paying for it after the vehicle's dead, buried, and in the junkyard.
Yeah. 30-year bond. Try to get a 30-year, you know, car loan. You know, it's bad enough they give you 5, they give you 6 now or something because they know you'll ultimately default. But at least they got collateral.
Yeah.
They'll take your car back. You pay for a year or two. They'll take your car back and resell it. At least they operate on a collateral. This thing, they're taking our money. They say they're going to use it. They don't use it. They should be able. If they don't have $122,000 to spare, even though they got $2 million in a slush fund, they want to rebond. It's like saying that I got the money, I got the cash, but I want to go out and take 2 more credit cards, even though I'm credit cards to the max. And they've already said, at the same breath, a few months ago they said, it came out, we have the worst bond rating. So there you go. And what's the long-term effects? We pay forever. We never pay anything off. And our bond rating will soon be junk bond. And ultimately, we go into receivership because guess what? If you can't figure out a budget that you can pay your bills with, and that's a small bill. Let's look at this. They'll say, well, you know, you're going to sit there and say, well, you know, $122,000 is a lot of money. Well, $122,000 is not a lot of money when you look at it, and you have a city budget of over $250 million. Over $250 million, a city budget, and we have bonds that are over $500 million. So again, let me get that great analogy that somebody once said. I might not have it exactly perfect, but especially the other one. When they were choosing, we're talking billions here, billions. So $122,000. What does that really look at when you look at the ratio? Well, if a million seconds is something like 7 years, a billion seconds is 37 years. So does that tell you how much more a billion is than a million? And think of hundreds of billions of dollars. 37 versus 7. So if you're talking about 10 million, you're talking about 70 years. If you're talking about 10 billion, you're talking about 370 years. Is that a lot of money, 122? No. That's just total fiscal and fiduciary irresponsibility, because they don't care how many bills they make. They don't care how far down the road they kick the can, because you, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren will still be paying these bonds. And at the worst rate you can possibly get. You're going to have to go to, what is that, that place that sells cars to people with virtually no credit?
Buy here, pay here. JD by Writer.
That's it, JD by Writer. Come here and we'll charge you astronomical interest. Try to go out and get a 1.9% interest rate on your car when you have credit like Fall River does. We couldn't even get tires I remember one time. Oh, I'm serious. I
I know, I remember
I was at a
that.
fire one time. An engine got a flat at the scene. And then the mechanic came down. He said, "Well, it might be till tomorrow before we can get the tire on." I said, "What do you mean tomorrow?" He said, "Well," he said, none of the tire companies will give us a tire because we owe them all money. We're going to have to buy the tire from Brockton." So it's like, there you go. That's Fall River, and it's gotten worse since then. It was even better. Now we're even in more debt. So if this doesn't drive you bananas, nothing will.
Yep.
Okay, what else? What's next?
Well, the DA's all PO'd, and we talk about this all the time about judges. They should be elected.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, because a drug dealer had his bail reduced. Can you believe that?
Yeah, he was released on $1,000 cash bail, and he had $3,000, a little less than $3,000 on him in cash. Imagine how much he had stuffed in the walls at home. He was dealing drugs in Boston and Fall River. So guess what? He got, and these are the kind of people they let back out. And when they let him out, he doesn't go to Newton.
No, it comes to Fall River.
He's coming to Fall River. He's coming back to Fall River where his market is. And these judges who have lifetime appointments, and they're all political appointments, this is the problem with the society. And you can't get it done. We tried in this state to get elected judges. We tried. Now we're going to have to, the entire state has to band together and get a constitutional convention, because who ruled that we couldn't do it? The judges. They took care of themselves. Just like when the legislature gives themselves cost of living raises. They don't care. They can do anything they want. Of course he's upset. It rankles the DA. Guess what, buddy? I don't think Tom Quinn lives in Fall River. So it rankles me even more, because this turkey's going to be driving around the streets of Fall River tonight.
With his 14.4 grams of cocaine.
That's right.
And his $3,000 in cash.
Oh
no, he'll only have $2,000. He had to take $1,000 to pay for his bail.
Remember, the judge set his bail at $1,000, like he won't have $1,000. He also got busted. For distributing Class A in Boston. So
right.
He's getting a lot more money for his drugs in Boston. You're not going to tell me this guy doesn't, $1,000 cash bail. That's like giving you, cash bail of $1.
Yep, exactly.
Can you get out of jail?
It's kind of tough.
Crazy.
Well, Fall River's gonna stick it to us once again.
Yeah.
You remember a while back when the city forced, you weren't given an option. You could opt out, but you were forced to go into the city aggregate energy program.
Which I did.
You opted out?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, how many times have we seen the state or even any of the private entities come in and give you a low ball figure, and when the government's telling you to take this stuff because it's going to be cheaper, just wait a little while, because it's not going to be cheaper.
And guess what? It's going up.
That's right.
It's now going up to 10.87 cents per kilowatt hour. The new price represents an increase in approximately $1.80 per month usage of a 600 kilowatt hour use. So they want it to go to 10.122 cents per kilowatt hour.
Yeah, just remember the old adage.
From that, I should say.
When it sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't.
Moving forward, the fixed rate of 10.43 cents per kilowatt hour is through January 2021. The city's rate will remain fixed at 10.43 cents per kilowatt hour through the remainder of the term of the electric services agreement ending in January 2021. It is the expectation of the city that National Grid's current basic service rate of 10.87 cents per kilowatt hour will increase with the winter rate change effective November 1st through April 30th. However, because the basic service rate changes every 3 to 6 months, there is no guarantee that the program price will be below the basic service rate.
Yeah. In other words, get ready, bend over, because screw you. In fact, you believe. Look, if you took this program, it's your fault. It's like we remember when we were given the thing about the school, we didn't need the debt override, and somebody said, well, we have to trust our politicians. I felt like telling them, you know, lady, should probably seek psychological counseling. You know, if you trust politicians. That, I mean, talk about, you know, something that's totally convoluted logic. I mean, that's basically, you know, assuming that a politician is telling the truth is like the most convoluted.
How do you know a politician's lying? His lips are moving.
His lips are moving. That's right. So yeah, we do it again, and you know, it never stops. You know, and then they got an excuse for everything. When I read these articles that we have every show here, it just boggles my mind how gullible the public is, and how they can market stuff like this community electricity, and then make you believe. What have you ever seen the government implement, even though it started out cheaper? Later on, it's 10 times more expensive. We got rid of snow removal. Now what do they want to do? We got rid of all our snow removal decades ago. Now they're going, oh, maybe we should buy snow removal equipment again. We got rid of our trash trucks at pennies at $1. And it's like, and we assumed all the responsibility. It's like, listen, if you haven't figured out yet that the government can't do anything right, that's fundamentally the definition of government. Like Groucho Marx said, they will create a problem where there is one, where there isn't one, and then find a way to screw it all up again. So that's government. I mean,
exactly.
And you know, the worst they do is a fiasco. It ultimately ends up in a fiasco, no matter how it begins.
And even with this privatization of trash, everyone goes, "Oh, the privatization's cheaper." It's going up $1 million every year. Yeah. At some point, it's not going to be cheaper anymore.
Yeah, and we didn't even privatize the trash. The only thing they picked up was the salaries.
That's right.
We gave them the trucks at pennies at $1. We're still paying the bond on the trucks. We're paying all the fees. So basically, all they do, it's like, hey, open up a factory. I'll pay you rent. I'll buy you all the equipment. I'll sell you the equipment for pennies on $1. I'll let you start a business with no cost to you. At virtually no cost to you. And then I'll pay everything. So good. No, hey, I'll open up a business if you want to do that for me too. But that's, you know, and then they convinced you again with their propaganda that it was a good deal, and you're going to save money ultimately. You never save money. When the government touches anything, by the time it's done, all their friends and relatives have jobs.
Or contracts.
Or contracts, and it's costing you, ultimately, it'll cost you 10 times more than it would if you stayed with the original. Just look at this headline. Here's another propaganda. Global market complicates local recycling, frustrates residents. Why aren't you already frustrated? Haven't we been saying for how many years that we pay the highest recyclable fee of any community?
Yeah.
And guess what? The global market, China doesn't want to take some of the stuff. Well, guess what? What does that got to do with anything? Does anybody in Fall River actually recycle the right way? Like I said, I've got a neighbor on my street that since the implementation of the program has never used a purple bag, and everything in his recycle bin is wrapped in plastic shopping bags, which is prohibited.
Right.
And he has never gotten, obviously he's never gotten a fine because he would have lost his house by now, because he would have been, you know, he would have been getting fines every week. So, I mean, another propaganda. Oh, yeah, it's the global market. Oh, there was a frost and the potato, they lost 3 potatoes in Idaho, so we got to jack the price of potatoes up tenfold. You know, this is all propaganda so they can steal. Oh, and I'm looking at this page. In Wellesley, anybody ever been in Wellesley?
I have.
Yeah, you know what the average income in Wellesley is? About 5 to 10 times what it is in Fall River.
I was going to say it's like 110,000.
Oh yeah, it's up over 100.
Yep.
You know, Wellesley's, you know, it's another little suburb. You know, it's even a little bit more elite than Newton. You know, it's, you know, Wellesley College, and you know, it's like, you know, the town went from earning earning. Remember, we never earned anything.
Exactly.
On our
We've
recycles.
never made a
This is the
dime.
key to this one, everybody. About what a crock of BS they throw at you in this city. And our mayor, we're doing so good. We got to handle so well. And we've never made any money on our recycles. In Wellesley, the town went from earning, that means they were making between $4 and $10 a ton, while we were paying
Between $4 and $10 a ton.
yeah, between $4 and $10 a ton. Now they know what it's like to live in Fall River. Now they're spending between $40 and $50 a ton to get rid of it. Guess what? Welcome to our world. And what did our politicians do? What did our city government do to try to figure out how we could have made money all these years on our recyclables? Zero.
Nothing.
Nada.
Exactly. And you know, we pay $82 per ton to get rid of our recycling. $82 per ton. It's cheaper
Yeah,
for
and
us.
wait a minute. You want to say that again?
$82 a ton.
That's 8.2.
Right.
These people are going bananas because they're paying 4.0.
Right.
And 5.0.
And they have a lot of money.
And they got a lot of money, and for years they've been making money.
Exactly.
On this. So they're complaining about paying on the low end less than half of what we have been paying for years.
Exactly.
So if you think your government is working for you, think again.
Now here's the thing. It would be cheaper for us to just take our recycling and put it into our trash. Because we pay $72 a ton.
Either that or get a bunch of goats and let them eat it. I don't know. Yeah.
You know, we pay like $70 a ton to get rid of our trash. And communities in Massachusetts are filing for permission to not to recycle because there's no place to put it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's time Fall River do the same thing. We've got no place to put it. And we can't afford to keep doing it. But they don't care. It's your money.
It's your money. They'll just keep raising fees and taxes. Don't worry about it. But remember this. I mean, you know, this is the key to this whole scenario here. You're seeing what they haven't done for you over the years is making money, and they did absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
Absolutely nothing.
And I remember even Linda Pereira brought up the fact that years ago, she had worked out a deal with Casilla to take our recyclables and we'd make money on it.
Yeah.
And she had like a 5 or 10 year contract that she could get with them. And nobody took them up on it because somebody else had to make the money.
That's right. They don't want to make money because then they have to say, why don't then the taxpayer might say, well, why does our tax rate continue to go up? Why do our fees continue to go up? Because we're making money on recycling. Where's that money going? Then they have to account for it, which they never do. It's much easier to say, oh, me, oh, my, we have to pay so much for our recyclables. And then somebody says, well, why does the rest of the state get money? And they go, oh, me, oh, my, we have to pay for our recyclables.
Exactly.
And nobody ever fixes anything. And you reelect these boneheads.
Well, here's some more bonehead work. Road improvements near Southcoast Marketplace likely delayed until spring.
Likely?
We got $2.5 million from the state last year to start this project.
Yep.
It was a year. It's going to be a year ago next month. We got $2.5 million. The city only had to come up with $200,000.
Yep. But again, how long, you know, we got money for the roof of the Bank Street Armory that never got used.
That's right.
We've gotten money for this project, and a year later, there's nothing done. But remember, the mayor's going to go on the radio and say, Fall River's so wonderful. It's great. We're doing so good and everything. Yeah, look at the stats with the crime and everything else. But remember, they broke ground pretty quick on Purchase Street, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Oh, yeah. A year later, the gem of this city now, supposedly, remember this, the crown jewel in Fall River's tiara, the Southcoast Marketplace, delayed again. Heaven forbid we we maintain the roads around our crown jewel.
Well,
but
the funny thing
again.
The funny thing is that 20 to 25%, the road project is currently in design, and it's about 20 to 25% complete, which means it's 75 to 80% not complete.
Yeah, and how long's the project been going? They got the money over a year ago. You're going to tell me that the state gave them $2.5 million without a plan. This is absolute God. This is crap.
Exactly. Now, here's the funny part.
They're not going to give you $2.5 million for a project unless you've got some kind of plan that you presented to them about what you wanted to do.
Exactly. Now, here's the funny part about it, though. The city engineer, J.R. Fry, said, in terms of road layout, conceptually, there isn't a lot of change. So they've got the layout already. They got it all designed, and they haven't changed any of it.
Look, they were figuring out how somebody better, this is one of the reasons, that when you say forensic audit in this community, every politician runs around like their butts are on fire. And they start throwing their hands up in the air and yelling, no, we don't need a forensic audit. Forensic audit means crime, criminal stuff. And no, it doesn't, actually. It means it's an audit that looks at compliance with law. Yeah, you could find if there was some criminal activity, some malfeasance, and spending money, because that's what it's about. It's about, are you actually abiding by it? It would be like looking at this grant and finding out if any money's missing, and that grant was for a particular thing, and where was it? We've already caught them using grant money for something that wasn't in the grant. Remember that big fiasco in front of the council about the bathrooms and everything else?
Yep.
Yeah, that was about, what did we actually use the grant money for? And it wasn't for what and they came up with some kind of BS euphemism that, well, we can do this, but it was because of this. And they basically what politicians do best. They lied their way out of it.
Here's their excuse for this one. Getting the project off the ground was affected by the lag time between the announcement and when the state finally signed the contract with the city, which was in April. So they're blaming the state.
Yeah, of course.
Frey said that while the city had surveyors and engineers lined up, not having the funding agreement with the state meant it couldn't move ahead with the hiring of the companies. When the agreement was signed, the companies had moved on to other projects over the summer.
Yeah. Well, maybe the state didn't sign the agreement till April because the city didn't have a proper plan.
Exactly.
So this is the thing. When you read these stories, you only get their side of it. It's like a political campaign. The guy who throws the first crap ball normally wins, because even if he says something that's an absolute lie, you only see the initial headline. Somebody decides to say that somebody's a mass murderer, and 100% of the people who read that will say, wow, he's a mass murderer? Unbelievable. Now, when they print a retraction a week later on a 14th page in little tiny print, about 15% of the people will say, oh, it was retracted. That'll stick in people's minds. That's an old political ploy. Throw the first mud ball.
Yep.
Yeah, and it'll get it. But this is the thing. And that's what they do best. Politicians never assume when it goes right, I did it.
When it goes wrong,
the state did it. The federal government screwed up. The city council it's the city. When the mayor's blaming the city council's blaming the mayor. They play the blame game until the prophetic words of Terry Sullivan come ringing back in your ear in the Chamber of Horrors. Just keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, and this will blow over.
That's right.
They'll forget about it. The dumb public will forget about it. They play the name game for a while, and then we'll forget. But we won't.
Nope, that's for sure. And for everybody, the King Philip Mill, the demolition's going to start resuming again, so be looking for that. Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you on Wednesday.
See you on Wednesday.
Stay angry.
The good news is the mayor of Flint is back from his jaunt to Portugal, so the Flint can rest easy.